Hi, I'm Stavina House, and I'm in my Laugh at You and Encourage Others to Laugh at You shirt because today is a spite day. I hate replacing fly zippers. It's just not my thing. And I've talked to other seamstresses, and they're like, oh, I hate doing parkas. The down feathers get all over the place. I would rather wrestle a down parka than do fly zippers. But I had 3 pants to do, 1 pair of slacks, 2 pairs of jeans, and I realized, you know what, I should probably show people how to do this because zippers bust sometimes. This one lost some teeth, and so the zipper pull disjointed itself and no longer does its job. So I have to rip out this zipper and put in a new one with nice metal teeth. And those metal teeth, when you try to do the stitching down here or up here at the top, sometimes get in the way of your sewing machine needle, and then you have sharp shards of metal broken off in somebody's pants fly. So we're gonna do this thing. To replace a fly zipper, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a seam ripper, a pair of scissors, your sewing machine, of course, and a replacement fly zipper. Now, fly zippers are different than regular zippers because they have this locking mechanism. If you put the tab down like this, it won't slide down, and that's what keeps the fly from opening. If you don't have a fly zipper that locks when the tab is down, the person's fly is going to keep opening up, and that's no good. That's why if ever this tab breaks off, I can't just put on a new tab because there's actually a locking mechanism that will lock into the teeth and keep it from sliding down. And as soon as that tab's not there, you no longer have that locking mechanism. So if you just lost this tab because it work hardened and broke off, yeah, you've just got to replace the whole zipper. There's no just putting a safety pin in that and going, because your fly will constantly be opening. Now, I've chosen a fly zipper that is lighter so that it's easier to see, but I would usually recommend always going with a darker zipper. So light khaki pants and dark navy or black inside of jeans. But so that you can see stuff on the camera, that's why I'm using this light colored zipper. Down at the bottom, there's going to be a metal stop, and up at the top, there's usually 2 metal stops. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to be matching this up at the bottom and then trimming off the zipper near the top. But I don't do it early because there is the potential that in moving this up and down, I would bloop, take it off the top and then have to carefully feed it back on, and that's zero fun. So we're going to be fitting this in and then trimming these, stitching them in, and then it'll be secure up at the top. But the first step is to rip out this old zipper. And for that, you're going to need a seam ripper. Now, my favorite seam ripper is this one. However, I broke the handle on it. This is similar to a surgical tool, so if you've got an X-Acto knife or something with a curved edge like this for surgery, they work really, really well. But I've had this for a while, and I broke the plastic being too ambitious, ripping out seams. So this is another style of seam ripper, and what you do is you pick a thread and you cut it. There's a sharp edge right there in the middle. So you pick and cut, pick and cut. And I do just about every other one until I've got it sort of loosened. I'm gonna go in from this side, pick and cut, pick and cut. There we go. And it's loosening up. Pick, cut, pick, cut. And you're going to do that all the way along. Now this one has been overlock stitched in. The zipper is actually stuck in with this overlock stitch. So this side's going to be harder. This one is a little bit easier because it's just 2 top stitches. But if you notice, the top stitches are into this placket, not all the way through on the other side. We could take out all these stitching, or we can go with a thread that will hide inside of the fibers of this denim, either picking a blue or picking a gray that hides in there. I might actually choose a sort of coffee brown to hide in there, and that way we can do that top stitching and it'll just disappear in there instead of having to undo the whole thing. Now up here at the top, there's a little bit of stitching. You can work your seam ripper up in there to undo this, but you'll notice that every once in a while the tip of my seam ripper is poking through the jeans. You just have to be very careful that you're not cutting into the denim material on the back side or on the front side when you're taking out these stitches. And now the top of my zipper is free. Just need to start working on the bottom. So I was actually wrong on this side. It wasn't sergered onto the placket, it was just top stitch there, which is awesome because that's usually how I do it. I have encountered sometimes that I have to take out the overlock stitch that is on these plackets, and when that happens, I just go back over it with a zigzag stitch instead of removing the whole placket and putting it back through my serger. So we're going to luckily just take out this top stitching, remove the zipper from the placket, and then we won't have to go back to zigzag stitch to keep that from fraying. So that's nice. Here we are deep inside that fly zipper. We've got it detached from the placket. We've got it off from the other side. But now we just need to get enough stitches out that we can remove the zipper entirely. Every once in a while, this will be so tight and compact that I just can't remove the whole zipper. And when that happens, I will sometimes just cut my losses and use my scissors to cut off the zipper and just leave a little bit of the old zipper canvas behind, because it's just not worth trying to undo all the stitching, particularly when you've got really intense stitching like that. Like, I don't want to have to bother undoing all of that. So I'm probably, at least on one side, going to just snip the twill tape that the zipper is on and just leave that entombed. The other side I can get out. I can see the end is near, so I'm going to finish getting the other side out. But taking out a zipper really kind of shows you how much these things are constructed apart and then assembled. So yeah, if you want to do it like they originally did it, you're going to have to take apart this whole thing. If you want to like do it without disassembling everything, it's going to be a lot of interesting maneuvering at the sewing machine, which is where we're going to go next to start putting this one in. We now need to fit in our new zipper. Now, to me, I physically have to kind of see the zipper in. Okay, this is the side that's going to go inside there, and this is the side that's going to go there. If I don't do this, I have the chance of accidentally putting my zipper in backwards. So always check to make sure that the tab for the zipper is on the proper side for people to be able to actually use their pants. I'm gonna stick the zipper in, and looking at the original double stitching, I'm going to lay my zipper down. Now, when I was doing this, when I ripped it out, I just pulled this section and the stitching actually ripped part of the placket, not the front side, just the back side. So I'm gonna have to be a little bit delicate when I stitch there, and I'm gonna actually stitch the zipper slightly to the outside of that, and then again on this side, so that area will be encased and hopefully not fray too much in the future. But I want to get this zipper as far up inside that spot in the crotch as I can before I stitch this down. Now, I'm going to be using a dark brown thread because I believe that will disguise itself fairly well. You could go with a blue. I find that brown and gray hides really well in denim. For some reason, those two colors just kind of blend with your eye, and you see how denim has a kind of woven grain to it. So I'm hoping that this color brown will just fade in and become almost invisible. Okay, here we are, and I know I'm just using my regular foot instead of a zipper foot. It's because I've misplaced my zipper foot. That happens to a lot of people, so I'm just going to show you how to do this using a regular foot. Eventually, I will find my zipper foot, and when I do, I'll show you how to do that. I'm moving my needle, instead of having my needle in the center, I'm moving my needle all the way over, and I'm going to run the zipper along the edge of my foot there. I've got it lined up so that it's going to be even along the placket. I'm going to stitch forward, and then I'm going to stitch backwards. Forward, back, forward. Okay. Now, I'm keeping my zipper extra long so that I can stitch very close to the waistband on this, but not all the way up to it. And back stitch. All right. Let's see how well this brown hides on the other side, or do I need to change my thread? Oh, look, you can barely see the brown, so I'm going to stick with this brown color. It's hiding really nicely into the shadows. Sometimes if you're trying to do a blue, you'll pick the wrong blue, and you'll have a more purple blue or a more tealy blue, and that's why sometimes using a brown is going to be better, or even black sometimes. But I find brown, your eye just kind of fades over it. Gray, the same thing. Sometimes just a gray will be better than trying to match up the blue. Okay, so we've got first stitch. We're going to do a second stitch. Let's see where that tear was. Oh, good. It's going to be encapsulated underneath the zipper's twill tape. I've got my zipper lined back up, but now instead of the needle being all the way over that side, I'm going to move it to the center. Make sure that you hang on to the tail of your top thread. If you don't, there's the possibility that it will pull out, and then you just have to rethread your needle, and that's never fun. Forward stitch, back stitch, and forward again. Forward stitch, back stitch, and forward again. There we go. Needle all the way up, foot up, and cut those threads. There we are. Front part of the zipper in. Now we get the lovely fiddly part of the back side of the zipper. The top near the fly button, I want to stitch this part of the zipper to that back placket just to keep it from shifting around. So instead of tucking this tail deep inside, I'm just going to shift it over to the side with a little fold like that. And then I'm going to fit it under my sewing machine, but I can't fit it in totally because it's still attached here at the fly. So it's just going to be partially stitched, not completely stitched down. Put down my needle so I can fiddle a bit, wrestle some things around, and slowly stitch forward. Wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. I'm wrestling the denim. Wrestling the denim, wrestling the denim, wrestling the denim. Oh, hi. Okay. Now, that's just stitched so it's not going to run around on me too terribly much. And the zipper's even both sides and not going to have a puckering effect on one side versus the other. Now, we're going to stitch up near the waistband. This is one of 2 danger of hitting metal teeth and breaking your sewing machine needle issues. Let's do it. When I'm about ready to do the waistband part of the zipper, I like to start with the upper part of the zipper. And I kind of gauge so that the zipper is well up into the waistband. Now, you can cut a zipper, but you have to be very careful that you're going in between the teeth, because between the teeth is where there is no metal. So I'm going to carefully snip. And now I can tuck this up inside. What's going to happen is I'm going to stitch all the way to, but not over, that metal tooth. And then I'm going to stitch again up to, but not over the tooth. And then I'm going to stitch right here. So the zipper's going to come, hit this, and that's going to be the end. Some people do a zigzag stitch over the top. I have too many times hit a tooth. I suppose if you've got the zipper foot that kind of helps you straddle that, you won't have as much of an issue. But I just go up 2, backstitch, 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 go up 2, backstitch, 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 and call it good. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Foot down, needle down, engage. Slowly walk it forward. Okay, that's as close as I want to get. So backstitch 1, forward, backstitch 2, forward, backstitch 3. All right. Move up to the other side. Needle down, forward, hand cranking, and go back. Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit further, put my needle down, and stitch. Okay. There we go. And the top of this zipper is now secure. And the zipper is not going to go off the end and pop off at the top. Snip all your threads. Always snip all the threads as you go along, otherwise you're going to be trimming them off forever. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that on the other side, I've got an even number of teeth. If this is too long, I'll have a weird pucker at the top, and if it's too short, I'll have a pucker over on the other side. So I want to try and get the right number of teeth on each side. So I've backed it off, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth showing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth showing, but I need to trim it longer than that. So carefully put my scissors in between the teeth, give it a snip, get rid of the extra, and now when I'm tucking it in, I just want those 5 teeth showing so it just matches up. That looks good. Hold it in place with a little pin, and now we're going to do the same top stitching that we did before, but we've got a placket and everything to get in on this. So it's going to be a little bit of wrestling. But now we can back off that zipper because we know exactly where we need that to match up so that we're not getting weird puckers in our zipper. All right. Get that nice and close. I like this color tan with the top stitching that this set of jeans has. I think it's a good complementary color. Okay. We've got that there. So let's stitch it in. Carefully approach the teeth. Forward and backward. Okay. Turn it off and find all of your whiskers. Okay, now it's time for us to do the top stitching along the zipper. I have it opened up right now so that's easier for you to see and easier for me to do. We're gonna go forward, back stitch, and forward. Now this was originally done in the same light thread as the rest of the top stitching, but because I don't have that matching thread, I'm just using the same dark brown and it's going to just hide out. I want to keep the denim from the jeans as close to the teeth as possible without going over the top of them. If I go over the top with the denim, it can cause a spot where the zipper tends to stick, and nobody wants to have problems zipping up their flies later. Okay, I've gotten to this part. I'm going to put the needle as far down as possible. I'm going to lift up my foot, and I'm going to slide the zipper up. Sometimes I have to turn it this way. Sometimes I have to lift up my needle. Try to go back to the exact spot where I was. Tighten up that top thread. Put the needle back down. And this is where it gets super interesting. Can you even see that? Yeah, it's hard. And back stitch. And forward. And back. And we're done with that part. Now, I showed you before this section here, I wasn't going to unstitch that to get my zipper tab into it, which means I still need to do my own stitching over the top. Now, I kept my zipper teeth back from that quite a ways. I suppose I could have made it a little bit deeper in there, but I just wanted to have plenty of room to be able to show this. So I'm actually going to do my top stitching up here. It's going to be back and forth really over this thick area, then over to here, and see how they have attached this placket around. I'm going to re-top stitch this, top stitch there, and then have my own top stitch there. So there's going to be a lot of stitching over the top just to secure the bottom of this, because that's a high stress point in a set of jeans. Forward stitch, back stitch, forward stitch, and back stitch. There we go with that. Now I'm going to duplicate the curve from the original top stitching. I I had to remove a little bit because I undid those stitches when I removed the original zipper. So I'm going to restitch there. And then they didn't do this, but I'm just going to duplicate the curve there so it's got more of a visual line so that my top stitching there won't be as obvious. So this is now just for looks, not so much for structure. Following in the curve of the original. Doing it as a back stitch is tricky, and I recommend just going as slow as you can. There we go. Now up to the end of this, and just duplicating that curve up to their original stitching. And then I'm actually going to put my needle all the way down and just do a rotate so that I can see what I'm doing and follow it all the way back. Boom! Done. Okay. Take my scissors, cut my thread nice and long, and get all the whiskers that are now hanging out on the inside of this fly. Busted to back in action. These jeans are ready to go. You can see where I had to end my zipper. I really should have gotten it a little bit further down, but I happen to know that this fly didn't need to unzip all the way down to there because it's women's jeans. We don't need to have as much zipper up at the top. Mostly it's just to loosen up the waist so we can do our business and get in and out. So I then did some extra stitching here. The zipper, even though it's a light color, because the placket comes over it well enough, you don't actually see it, and it's a nice color combination with the top stitching that already existed there. So this set of jeans is all fixed up and wearable again. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you have a great day. Stay crafty. Okay, getting you really zoomed in. Now it's time for us. I'm hitting the camera. Let's try that again.